Alright, we have a F4A42. The complaint is no lockup. It's PO741 code. 10 millimeters on the speed sensors. These speed sensors are super bad about failure. Neutral switch is fairly bad about failures, especially because the battery acid drips down on top of this and screws up the connector and screws up the sensor. So make sure it's nice and clean and not corroded. The connector's not corroded. $10 millimeter here and on the pan. Come on now. Alright, there's a little pin that holds your linkage in. Sometimes it'll stick to the pan. I put this off to the side so it doesn't get lost. There's a snap ring that holds this harness in. $10 millimeters on the valve body. On the center you want the black ones. On the outer you want the chrome or gold. I usually just leave the harness connected to it. Normally I don't even hardly ever go through these valve bodies. They're not normally stuck. The only time you're going to have problems maybe is when the planetaries come apart, and that's not very common. There are two check balls up here. Make sure you do not lose those. Your accumulators and springs have a certain way that they go. I suggest that you mark them. This little seal that goes up in here, there are a couple different length ones. And you also want to make sure that your opening is over here and not blocking that off. Alright, you pull your linkage out if you want to. Do pay attention to how it was in there because it only goes one way properly. $17 millimeter or 19 millimeters on the cooler lines. 12 millimeters on the back cover, and on the front 14 millimeters on the front case. It's our seal for our neutral switch. Alright, we're going to be a snot. Alright, on our end cover here, we have a shim. You want to look real close at your ring lands on all four of these and make sure that they are not worn out and your rings are moving up and down. Somebody's been into this unit. These are not factory clutches, these are aftermarkets. And this set of clutches right here, your reverse, are almost always flaking off. These are a little burnt. That one steel's iffy. There's a snap ring that goes on here. I'm not going to take this apart right now. Well, I don't know, I might. Yeah, we'll take it apart here a little bit. Got bearing on this side and this side. Make sure our clutches haven't eat up into the hub. The bushings are okay. Same thing on this one. This sun gear, you want to make sure it's not pitted. Now, normally it doesn't pit. If anything happens, the bearing will come apart and they'll chew up the whole planet. And then you're replacing everything. Snap ring is at 1 o'clock. Wavy ring here. Every once in a great while this will break. Not very common, but the one in the front is very common. Since somebody's already been in here, it's probably already been replaced. Critical that you pay attention to how this is put together, because if you put it together wrong, it will not work properly. It's kind of like a 60442 RLE. We have a recess on this plate right here. It goes up against where the snap ring's at. Snap ring is down about the 630 position. I don't remember right off if that's correct or not. Pressure plate, the recess is going to face rearward up against the snap ring again. Here again, the snap ring's down about 630. Snap rings are different, so make sure and keep them where they go. Alright, the wavy ring has been replaced by this thing has been replaced by this solid ring. If you have one that looks like this, you want to get rid of it and put this in there. What'll happen is this thing will break. What'll happen is that ring will break and it'll go up and it'll go through your filter and it'll go into your pump and break your pump. See if we can get behind this. I may have to go put more of a point on this scribe. Alright, let me go put more of a point on here. Maybe this one will do it. Nope, let me go put a point on it. Okay, as you can see, that thing can be kind of difficult to get out of there. These are fairly bad about stripping out here. Make sure not a lot of play. Make sure that hub goes in here. It's not got a lot of play. Alright, feeling pretty good. Got bearing. Make sure washers are up in there and it's not got a lot of up and down movement, no wobbling, no pits. Another bearing. Same thing on this one. And our sprag, we want to make sure our sprag holds. It's going to turn counterclockwise and lock clockwise. Okay, now this is the way I do it. You can do it however you want to. This is spring loaded and it's a little stiff on this one, but I just get up in here and pop the snap ring off. I don't take it over to the foot press, it just makes a hell of a mess with oil. And there is a certain way that this goes. So make sure that the dot is facing where it's supposed to, up here at the top. It lines up the oiling holes. And there's a little dot, and in the race, let's get this out here. Okay. Everything's always got to be a snot when it's on camera. There we go. Okay, our race has little notches cut in it, and you make sure those line up with oiling holes. And there is a seal on the back of it, don't forget about that. Alright, our retainer, our return spring. The piston has a little knot. The case has a notch cut in it. The piston has a little deal that has to line up in that hole. Okay. $10mm on our speedometer. There we go. These two are gold colored. They must go there. If you don't, you put one of these black ones in there, you're more than likely going to break your case. careful, the races do come out of there a lot of times. And your filter, there are different filters, so make sure you match your filter up. Look at your diff bearings, make sure they're in good shape. And our spider gears. $12mm on the pump. Our oil slinger. 30 Torx on the back of the pump. Make sure our ring lands are okay. Not messed up on here where these two rings ride. If you do not have it, you're going to want to buy the lineup tool for this pump. Before I had the lineup tool, we used to use the torque converter, and that's kind of hit or miss. Buy the tool. It'll save yourself a lot of headache. You don't want to have to be pulling this back out because the pump is whining because the gear's hitting the crescent. So go ahead and get the tool. Make sure gear has not chewed up inside of here. Go ahead and mark our gears. Dots face up. Make sure we're not chewed up on here. Alright, probably going to need a pump bushing. Normally put them in. Let's see what these clutches look like. These drums are fairly bad about snapping the end off out here. Now this pinion gear here, there's really no need to take it out, and there's no need to take this transfer gear out unless the bearing's messed up or the gear is messed up. I have had a few that the teeth are chipped on them, so do be careful with them. If you do need to take this transfer gear out, you can see there's bolts down inside of here. You can take those out, then you're going to turn it and take the rest of those out, and it'll come out. To get this out, there's a cover on the back side. Take this cover out, there's a nut, and then you drive it out. There's a crush sleeve, and the whole pinion and everything comes out this way. Take these 12s out, it comes out, and your gear comes out. But like I said, there's no need to. You will have to pull your parking mechanism out of here. There's 2 pins, or actually 3 pins. Right here, this pin holds your spring. Pay attention to how that spring is in there. If you're going to take that out, 2 pins hold this piece into here. Make sure you pay attention to how that's in there, or your park's not going to work properly. Here again, our race will probably come out. They're definitely going to fall out when you put it in the machine and get it hot. I almost had it out. Got it. There we go. The other one will probably do the same. It has a shim underneath it for setting your preload. Let me take the drums apart. Okay, your snap ring. I have balance piston, return spring. It does have lineups. They have to go on those pins right there. A regular piston. Now there's a snap ring that holds this shaft into this drum. There's no need to take that out unless you just, this shaft's getting in your way when you're trying to take your drum apart. Oh, also be careful that you don't ding these teeth up right here for that speed sensor to read off of, and then it's not going to read properly. We got a bearing. It is on the back of here. It usually stays in it. Here's our drum. Snap ring. We have balance piston, return spring, piston, and a piston. Alright, this one looks like it's more than likely just a torque converter problem. Very, very rarely do I have to replace the valve bodies or the solenoids on these. The problem's usually either that ring is broke and it's broke the pump, or we got a converter problem. And it looks like what we got here, and those reverse clutches are normally coming apart. Like I said, somebody's already been in here. So we do have a few burnt clutches, nothing too major. So we're just going to need an LS kit, which is a kit with clutches, filter, pump bushing, and since we've already had the ring replaced, we don't need that. That's probably about it on this one. It's pretty simple one. So I'm probably going to do the video again. I already have a rebuild video of this, but the camera was at a further distance and I have it now, so I think I'll redo it and have a closer up view. So once we get sold and parts get here, we'll get that taken care of. Oh, on your torque converter there is a letter code or a number code. That's what you need for your proper converter that you're going to need.